The SNP and Nicola Sturgeon have been lambasted over plans to introduce a 4-day working week in Scotland that could cost billions of pounds, with one expert raging this represents more irresponsible policy promises to lure voters to backing independence. The Scottish Conservatives have warned the plan could cost Scotland's sector £2.5 billion alone each year and blow a massive hole in Scotland's already vulnerable economy. During the SNP conference in November, party members voted in favour of a 4-day working week by 1,136 votes to 70, calling on the Scottish Government to launch a review of working practices in Scotland, including the possibility of a 4-day week. Employment law is still controlled by Westminster, meaning any policy aimed at reducing working hours could only be introduced if the SNP is successful in securing a second referendum on Scottish independence. Nicola Sturgeon has continued to lead the SNP's calls for a second independence vote, more than 6 years after the country voted to remain in the Union. Scotland's First Minister has vowed to hold another vote on independence if the SNP is successful in winning a majority at the Scottish elections, scheduled to take place in May. She has ramped up her independence calls since Brexit, continuing to insist the UK's departure has been concluded against the will of the Scottish people, who had voted to remain part of the bloc during the referendum in June 2016. But Ben Harris-Quinney, chairman of the Bow Group think tank, accused the SNP of luring people to vote for independence with unviable policy pledges. He told Express, anyone with a basic understanding of economics and the current state of the UK economy and our national finances should scrutinise and oppose these proposals. It seems to represent more irresponsible policy promises to lure voters to backing independence and the SNP without explaining the potential economic ramifications. An independent Scotland would likely be a poorer nation than the UK. SNP economic projections rely on the idea of majority control of North Sea oil post-independence, which is not only unlikely but North Sea oil is running out and oil as a natural resource is rapidly being replaced by other fuel sources. Scotland's economy has been battered by the coronavirus pandemic and resulting lockdowns that have been imposed. Last month, the Fraser of Allender Institute set out 3 scenarios in its latest economic commentary report. But it warned that a pessimistic scenario, involving business closures, rising unemployment and a slow rollout of a coronavirus vaccine across the country, would mean Scotland's economy may not return to pre-pandemic levels until September 2023. Mr. Harris-Quinney continued, I struggle to see how the government would even be able to afford their current obligations, and substantially slashing working hours would further compound this deficit.